I'm just going to check the audio, make sure it's good. And then we're going to spiritually do our thing. Once again, it's on. All right, shalom, shalom. Shalom, Yasha'Allah. Shalom, Israel. First and foremost, I'm going to start off by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahawashi, Wahar Rakakwadash, double honor to my apostles and elders at Great Millstone, the men that taught me this truth through the Spirit. Peace and blessings to the elect of the house of Israel that's scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. Peace and blessings to the believers, all right, the sincere teachers, and the flock of Yahawashi, which is the elect, ultimately. Today we're going to get into, don't forget you are a shepherd like Yahawashi. Shalom to the kings, man. Shalom to the gods. All right, to the Alahayim, the lively stones, my fellow immortals, right? So yeah, today we're going to get into that, and this is a response to the priest Pasha video that he's done, which is a re-upload from years ago. I go into the archives every now and then and pull out some gems and some jewels, and it keeps us motivated, inspired, and sparks that spirit. But basically, we're shepherds, just like Yahawashi. And one of the message that the brother was, the spirit that was on the brother that he was trying to hit on was, it's important to teach. It's important to feed and water the sheep. But you have to know the sheep as well. You have to know the sheep in the flock of the Lord. And there's no other way by knowing the flock and the sheep of the Lord by associating or communicating or fellowshipping with the flock of the Lord, right? And I'm going to read the scripture the brother posed, because ultimately Yahawashi, he's the grand shepherd. He's the chief shepherd. He's the ultimate example of how to be a shepherd, right? John 10:2, but he that entereth in by the door is the shepherd of the sheep. Now going back to that, and this is why we have to get familiar with the customs of farming, of herding, of shepherding, of tilling the land, of a husbandman, which is a man that is a farmer or he tills the land. You have to get familiar with these things because the Bible uses a lot of that parabolic, symbolic talk, because a lot of the men back then was carpenters, farmers, husbandmen, and shepherds, right? So, and I'm gonna post the videos in I'm gonna post it in the chat so brothers can go check out some of the videos I've seen, and it inspires you. It inspires you through the spirit, and it gives you a better understanding of what Yahawashi was trying to convey to us. Now, going back to knowing the flock, the scriptures speak about not forsaking the assembly of the brethren, right? And like I said, the brother was trying to hit the nail on the head about the main job. Yes, you got to make sure the sheep eats every day, and you got to make sure the sheep has good water, clean water every day. That's why Yahawashi told Peter, if you love me, feed my flock. Feed it with what? Not fucking soda and Doritos. No, we feeded them with the bread of life and the water of life, which is Yahawashi, which is the word, the Bible, right? And real quick, let me just do this real fast before I forget, because I'm forgetful. Excuse me. I'm going to post these in the chats. And brothers, y'all can check it out after the lesson, or you know, to give you a point of reference of what shepherding looks like. Because a shepherd, he had to make sure that his sheep were healthy. He had to make sure that the sheep wasn't hurt or sick, right? He had to make sure nothing was caught in their hooves or their hooves wasn't infected, right? And this is in symbolic or parabolic to us, right? You got to be able to know the brothers that you're dealing with, right? You're going to be dealing with some more froward sheep. You're going to be dealing with some more gentle sheep. And you got to be able to deal with all those kinds of sheep, right? More, erratic sheep, more reasonable and logical sheep, more, you got to be able to deal with all kinds of sheep, right? So let's get this first scripture. This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 27, verse 23. I know I was rambling, forgive me. Be thou diligent to know the state of thy flocks, and look well to thy herds. So once again, the majority of Jake grew up in cities and towns. They don't know nothing about knowing the state of a flock. They don't even know what a flock means, right? But thanks to National Geographic and thanks to the History Channel and things like that, we have a idea. But knowing you got to be diligent to know the state of your flock. And why is that? Why you have to be diligent? Because if you're a shepherd, right, and you have 100 sheep, you have to be able to manage and know those 100 sheep, because that sheep was for your clothing. Their wool was for your clothing and your bedding, right? That sheep was for food, and you use the goat's milk or sheep milk, right? Preferably goat's milk, right? So the sheep was for your life, and not only that, for your business. You sold sheep, or you sold the wool, or you sold them for food, right? So the scriptures say, be thou diligent to know the state of thy flocks, and look well to thy herds. And the Spirit has it that each brother has relationships with certain brothers. They're more tight with certain brothers more than other brothers, right? Not to say that they're not brotherly with all brothers. That's just how it is, right? And not only that, the Most High has it set up that there's men that's over 10 men, there's men over 50 men, there's men over 100 men, there's men over 1,000 men, right? And through the Spirit of the Lord, there's ranking systems, right? The Lord has set up ranking systems, and there should be ranking systems in each camp. Each camp should have a guy over 10, a guy over 50, a guy over 100, a guy over 1,000. And what does that mean? You should be able to handle, and you should be able to deal with the lives of 10 men, the lives of 50 men, the lives of 100 men, the lives of 1,000 men, right? Going all the way back to the time of Moses. That's how the Lord is raising an exceeding spiritual army, right? Not a physical one, a spiritual one. And you should be able to deal with the lives of whatever set men the Lord has you set up with, right? And then even with that, say you a man over 10 men, right? You set up 2 to 3 men to handle, to handle certain businesses, the other 2 to 3 men to handle certain businesses, and the last 2 to 3 men to handle certain businesses, right? You give people offices and jobs. And you should be able to know, all right, this brother's a precept man. This brother does good with motivation and exhortation. This brother likes the news and current events. And, you deal with such. Or even down to the personality-wise. This brother can't have more than 2 to 3 drinks. This brother can't be hanging out you know, or this brother, he gets crazy with women, so he got to cut that down, This brother can't hang out too tough, he got to cut that down, you know. You got to send this brother home early. You got to know these things, and the only way you can know these things is being involved with your flock, right? And we do, and I want to say this, dealing with your flock, you have to exercise patience. You have to exercise understanding. You got to exercise sometimes sharpness and rebuke, right? As it says, the word of the Lord is preach the word in season, out of season, exhort, rebuke with all long suffering, right? So some sheep, you got to knock them on the head, man. You got to smite them. Or that don't mean physically smite, brothers. I have to break this down. So that means guide them. That means reprove them, correct them. And some brothers, you can leave them because you can see that they can handle themselves somewhat better. Some brothers need more hands-on treatment, right? So let's get the next scripture. This is the book of Galatians, chapter 6, verse 1. It says, brethren, if a man be overtaken in a fault, ye which are spiritual, restore such a one in the spirit of meekness, right? So if a brother is going off, you a brother that's in the spirit, you a brother that has wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, you should be able to show the brother his fault or his wrong or his transgression against the law, right? Or how that wasn't using wisdom or exercising wisdom, right? And that's the job of a shepherd. It says, consider thyself, lest thou also be tempted. In the NLT, it says, dear brothers and sisters, if another believer is overcome by some sin, you who are godly should gently and humbly help that person back onto the right path. And be careful not to fall into the same temptation yourself. Because that's the number one thing, man. Me and Priest Carl always talk about this, man. You got to be careful what you murmur about, when you murmuring about certain brothers that frustrate you. You got to be careful about, if that was me, what I would have did. You got to be careful with that. Because the Lord has angels over you that's recording everything you say. Oh yeah? That's how you would have handled it? Oh yeah? You couldn't have been that brother? You wouldn't have dealt with that like that? Oh yeah? So the Lord is going to put you to the test now. Oh yeah? You got it down pat? Oh yeah? Oh, you think you know something? The Lord got you, man. And in that, listen, I testify. That shit happens to me all the time. Damn, how could that brother do that, man? Come on, that brother being simple, man. That was simple as hell, man. And then I do some simple shit that's close to that, and I'll be like, yo, man, I'm gonna stop talking shit, man. I'm gonna just stop talking shit, because every time I sit there and say, that brother was simple, I end up being simple my damn self, But that show just be humble, man. Be humble. Pray for brothers, even the simple brothers, right? And brothers that's not as fast or get things as quick as you, every part of the body's important, the eye can't boast against the hand, the ear can't boast against the foot, etc., etc. Your private parts can't boast against your neck. Everything is important. Even the lowly amongst us, right? So it says, bear ye one another burdens, and also fulfill the Lord and Mashiach, right? Share each other the burdens, and this way obey the Lord of Mashiach. And what is the Lord of Mashiach? Which means anointed in the Hebrew, is the same law of the Heavenly Father. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. You give respect to brothers the same respect you want. So if you don't want brothers joking around with you, don't joke around with brothers. If you don't care for worldly talk, don't talk worldly. And how do you know these things? By dealing with the flock, knowing your flock, right? So if you don't like talking about worldly shit, you don't want to talk about rap battles or NFL. Like, all right, me personally, I always gotta use myself first. I don't give a shit about sports, right? Or that's not a good example. But brothers talk about sports. I don't care about that. But something that might offend me. Um, I don't mind joking. I have a sense of humor. But then there's a limit. You know what I mean? The roasting and ragging. Brothers don't really do that, you know. And if brothers roast and rag each other, that's a personal thing. But brothers don't be cutting each other's asses and roasting each other like that. The way niggas do in the world. The way I used to do in the world. You know. Jake will light your ass on fire, you know. If your shoes is talking or you got holes in your socks, Jake will find anything to roast you about, you know. But like that, you don't like being roast. So guess what? Don't roast brothers. That's simple. You know the brothers you deal with on a daily basis. You don't like worldly talk, then don't talk worldly, you know, to that particular brother, you know. But it says, for if a man think himself to be something when he is nothing, he deceiveth himself. I like it when it says in the NLT. It says, if you think you are too important to help someone, you are only fooling yourself. You are not that important, right? None of us is too big to help a brother out, you know? None of us is too big to help the flock out. And that, you know, that includes the sisters too, the few sincere sisters that believe. Because guess what? A shepherd is not only a shepherd to the male sheep, but to the female sheep as well. When you look up real shepherds, you know, they got to make sure that the woman gives delivery. The baby come out healthy and things of that nature, which brothers do. If a sister asks a sincere question or a sister is sick and asks for prayers, brothers do that, you know? Brothers do that. So, but you are not too big to help sheep out, right? Like I said, if you're a man of 10, a man of 50, a man of 100, that's the amount of men you should be able to take care of. Because guess what? If this was a real war, you would have to command these men to go in this section of the battlefield. You go up there and stay and wait for the troops to pass. You have to be able to direct men. You got to know what men's strong suits are and men weak suits are. You can't sit there and say, you know what, I'm just the baddest warrior. No, you are men that's over 100 men. You're not a solo warrior. Even though this is a solo race and this is a straight gate walk, right? The Lord has it that you have men that's under you, that's looking up to you, that's waiting to hear your advice, your counsel, your wisdom, your guidance. So all that lone wolf shit is out of here. So it says, but let every man prove his own work, and then shall he rejoicing in himself alone and not another. It says, pay careful attention to your own work, for then you will get the satisfaction of a job well done. And you won't need to compare yourself to anyone else. Meaning, you know, you do what you gotta do. You handle your business. Right? You handle your business, and you won't have to compare yourself to another man's business. That's why you don't hear the prophet sitting there, yeah, I wish I was like Ezekiel or Jeremiah, right? You don't hear the prophets comparing each other. They dealt with whatever the spirit the Lord gave them. Now, you do have the disciples that admire their elders and their teachers, right? And you do inspire to be like your elders and teachers, such as Elisha with Elijah, but that's that scenario. But you ain't saying they're comparing yourself to the next man, right? Because the Lord is dealing with him how he deals with him, and the Lord is dealing with you how he deals with you, right? You can't force your ways on another man. So it says, for every man shall bear his own burden. Let him that is taught in the word communicate unto him that teacheth in all good things. So every man, basically, you're going to suffer your suffering. Nobody else is going to feel what you're suffering. Nobody else is going to feel what you go through, right? But you have brothers, you have elders, you have higher men in the faith that has been through what you've been through, that can assist you with your suffering or give you some comfort, right? It says, all right, that was it on that. Going back to knowing the state of your flock. This is the book of Galatians chapter 5, verse 13. For brethren, ye have been called unto liberty. Only use not liberty for an occasion to the flesh, but love, serve one another. In the NLT, for you have been called to live in freedom, because in Mashiach you have freedom, right? You shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free from what? The bondage of this world, the philosophies of this world. You know, putting your woman on a pedestal, you free from that. You know, having understandings on what's good to eat and what's bad to eat. You're free. You're free from a lot of things, man. And ultimately, you're free from the penalties of sin. And that's through the blood of Yahawashi, right? Because we're not paying the way we should be paying for our transgressions, right? Because Yahawashi was that ultimate sacrifice. So, whether eating unclean things or being unclean or ignorant sin or willful sin, you're supposed to be having a heavy penalty for those things because of the covenant of the Heavenly Father we made. But guess what? We're not paying the way we should be paid because of Yahawashi. Our lives was bought for a price. Going back to this, my brothers and sisters, but don't use freedom to satisfy your sinful nature. Instead, use your freedom to serve one another in love. So this is the ultimate thing, man, to serve one another in love. That's why the Lord did the ultimate act, which was dying on that cross. But not only that, he made sure that his men was good. Not only that, he was healing Israel from their sins, man. He was healing Israel from their diseases and their sicknesses, their leprosy, their uncleanness. He was doing all that when he was alive. So the Lord was out here working, man. He was out here working. And that's what we got to do for each other as well, right? So it says, for don't use freedom to satisfy your sinful nature. Because you're born again and you're cleansed. I don't mean go out there and sin willfully. Don't just be going off just to go off. Try to rehearse the righteous acts to the best of your ability. You know the Sabbath coming in. Do your best to get what you got to get before the Sabbath. So you ain't got to go out there and buy things. That don't be over righteous. If you're hungry, you get something to eat. But try to rehearse the righteous acts, man. Right? And of course, we can't keep the laws perfectly, but do what you got to do. Do your best, man. Try not to work on the Sabbath. Try to, don't rob each other. Don't steal from each other. Don't murder each other. Right? That's keeping the laws. Don't look at your brother's woman. Right? Which We learn. You don't even know brothers, women in this. The majority brothers, you don't even know they women because your woman is your business. But for the few brothers that have that relationship and bond, the scriptures say, don't look at your brother woman like that. So it says, instead, use your freedom to serve one another in love. And love is keeping the commandments, right? And when is a brother or a friend known? When adversity is happening. That's how you know somebody is solid or somebody is a real brother, right? When you going through shit and a brother phone calls you or a brother shows up, you need help, right? So it says, verse 14, for all the Lord is fulfilled in this one word, even this, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thy love thyself. For the whole law can be summed up in this one command, love your neighbor as yourself. And the only way you're going to love your neighbor as you love yourself, you got to know your neighbors. You have to know your neighbors, man. You got to know the flock, right? You got to know each sheep that you're dealing with and their different personalities. This I say then, walk in the spirit, and ye shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. All right? This is St. John chapter 13, verse 14. If I then, your Lord and Master, have washed your feet, ye also ought to wash one another's feet. And come on, that's the ultimate act, man. You doing, the most charitable things for brothers, for Israel, man. Sacrificing, you taking your time out, you taking your energy out to help a man out. And we all fight that. I know, me personally, I fight that. Be like, hey, I ain't doing that. That brother figure it out, man. I ain't doing that shit. That brother got it, man. Well, that's too far. That's a lot of case too. That brother, come on, man. It looks like an hours of change out the way, man. But sometimes you gotta sacrifice. But that, and on the flip side of that, don't abuse the brotherhood too. That's the flip side of the coin. Brothers gotta, walk twine and go out their way sometimes to help brothers. But on the flip side, don't abuse the help. Don't abuse brothers' help. Don't abuse brothers' kindness. Don't abuse brothers' charity. Don't abuse that. A brother's charitable, or the brother he don't say no. No is not his vocabulary. Don't abuse that shit, man. A lot of things that goes on with Jacob be like a lot of miscommunication and misunderstanding, which is Satan. Satan is the breeder of confusion. So that's where he dwells. That's where he is at his strongest, confusion. So, always communicate, work out misunderstandings, and everything should be good. But the majority of shit happens because of miscommunication or non-communication, and do everything through prayer and asking the Most High for guidance. Because the Most High is the ultimate shepherd. Under him is Yahawashi, and they're the ultimate guides to our lives. So it says, if I then, your Lord and Master, have washed your feet, and Yahawashi is, come on, he didn't have to do that. Ye also ought to wash one another's feet. For I have given you an example that ye should do as I have done to you. Come on, man. And this is what we said. Yahawashi is the ultimate. He's the shepherd. He's the main shepherd that we should be modeling ourselves after. And of course, we We can't even dream to live up to what Yahawashi did. But in the same breath, Yahawashi gave us his spirit. Yahweh, through Yahawashi, gave us their spirit to do it, to do the will of the Father, to be charitable, to sacrifice, to wash your brother's feet, man. And our apostles and elders are main examples on earth today, man. I testify that. Since coming into this truth from, 2008, 2009, right? The apostles and elders of Great Millstone, even the CT elders and bishops, they are models of being the disciples of the Lord, man. Not only counsel, and not only them, commend the brothers, the high-ranking brothers and the elders of the different camps of states too. They are models and examples of being the Lord's disciples because of the love that they have for the brethren, the love that they have for the flock. But I want to speak about the apostles and elders real quick. They like spiritual fathers, man. They the fathers to the fatherless, husbands to the widows, fathers to the orphans, and brothers to the brotherless, man. And all the high-ranking men and the elders in the different camps are conducting themselves in the same manners. They're fathers to the fatherless, husbands to the widows, and leaders of the flock of the nation of Israel, man. So it says, verily, verily, I say unto you, the servant is not greater than his Lord, neither he that is sent greater than he that sent him. So we are not greater than Yahawashi. Yahawashi is not greater than Yahweh. We doing what Yahawashi did, Yahweh did. Yahawashi is doing what Yahweh did for Israel. Look how many times Yahweh forgave Israel. Look how many times Yahawashi forgave Israel. And this is how many times we have to forgive each other. If ye know these things, happy are ye that do them. Now that you know these things, Yahweh will bless you for doing them. For not forsaking the assembly of the flock, man. Let me get that. This is the book of Hebrews, chapter 10, verse 23. It says, let us hold fast the profession of our faith without wavering, right? For he is faithful. For he is faithful that promise. In the NLT, let us hold tightly without wavering the hope we are affirmed. For Yahweh can be trusted to keep his promises. So we got to hold fast onto this faith. We have to hold fast on to not only watering and feeding the flock, but being involved with the flock, being hands-on with the flock, knowing the state of your flock, right? And Yahweh can be trusted to keep his promises. Everything that the Most High said he's going to do it, because he's not a man that he should lie. Let us consider one another to provoke unto love and to good works, right? So we are supposed to be iron sharpened iron. We're supposed to be making righteousness trending. We're supposed to make serving the Lord trending. We're supposed to be exhortating and motivating for brothers to get involved, man. Get involved. What you waiting for? Right? This is the work of the heavens, man. This is godly work. This is power talk, right? This is power work, man. What you waiting for? All that playing the back shit is over. Step up. What you waiting for? Right? A good leader starts off by being a follower. A good leader was a good follower, right? A good follower learns to become a good leader, or learns to become a good leader from a good leader, right? But after a certain amount of time, just like in life, as a child, I thought as a child, I understood as a child, and I thought as a child. Now that I became a man, I put away childish things. So you're getting older in this faith. You're not playing the back role like when you first came in. When you first came in, your mouth was shut, your ears was open, and you was taking down notes like crazy. You was observing and listening like crazy because you're born again. You don't know nothing. So you just sitting there and you want to observe how men move, how they conduct themselves. Is that the right thing to do? Is this okay to do? Is that not okay to do? That's what you're learning, right? When you first come into this thing. Oh, this is how this brother had. Oh, this is how, oh, all right, that's still cool to do. That's not cool to do. All right, I could do this, But as you get older, you start to know what you should be doing. And ain't no more, is this the right thing to do? Is that the right? You know what you should be doing, right? Because you had examples when you first came into this thing. What was your example? The elder brothers in your church, the high-ranking men, right? The elder of your church, the second in command, the third in command, sergeant of arms, the general, etc., etc., the priest, the first priest, the second priest. You have examples. What are they doing? Oh, they getting down for their crowns. They're giving diligence to make their call of election sure, right? I'm speaking as a younger man. I'm watching my elders give a diligence election sure. They showing up on time, right? They making sure they there early at camp or wherever they gotta be. When a command is given, they making sure they listen to that command and executing that command. If they're given if they give somebody a task or responsibility, that man gotta make sure he execute that task or execute that responsibility, right? And I'm watching all this as a younger man. I'm seeing how they deal with older men. I'm seeing how they deal with younger men. And I'm just marketing. I'm seeing how they being forgiven towards certain brother offenses, and some brothers' offenses, they getting kicked out. I'm marking that down, and I'm just writing, I'm taking everything in. And now that I'm reaching a certain age in the faith, I'm at the age where the men that I was watching, I'm at their age now, and now I'm doing what they was doing. All right? Nah, that brother suspended. Brother, go home. You showed up late, go home. Why you late? You had to work today? Go home. All right, this brother didn't do shows in 3 months, you suspended. Things of that nature. But if I wasn't doing that then, I was trying not to get suspended or kicked out or, piss the Most High off ultimately. But now that I'm a man of age in the faith, I'm doing the things that my elders and bishops was doing when I was coming up. Right? And brothers got to report in. Brothers got to hand in their tights. Brothers got to, Before I was the guy handing it. And, I'm still doing those things because there's a chain of command. There's somebody over me. There's somebody I got to report to. There's somebody I got to, if I get a task or responsibility, I got to execute that task and responsibility. Right? So, it goes on and on, man. So, we'll get back to the scriptures. Basically, step up, man. Step up. Israel, step up. You brothers that play the back road. And I know, because I'm a gentle brother, I'm a gentle brother. I don't want to be in the main. I don't want to be in the limelight. I don't want to be in the hot seat. I don't want to be in the front. I'm just here to work. I'm here to do the things that please Yahawashi. But at the same time, you gotta make the necessary steps to keep this church organized and keep this church running. It's all hands on deck. Every role is important to keeping this church, this temple, clean. Going back to the duties of the temple, right? The priests had to make, the priests was the ones only, the priests were the only ones allowed in the temple. The priests were the only ones allowed to keep the maintenance of the temple up, which are the Levites. So being that we are the new nation of kings and priests, not the new nation of kings and priests, but now that we are the new priests, we have to make sure the maintenance of this church is kept up. And not only that, you have to do the duties of a priest. You have to deal with Israel. You have to offer up sacrifices for Israel. And who's that? The brothers you laboring with and the sisters that's listening. You know? You know, these are just some of the something's on my mind, something's on my mind. Forgive me real quick. I'm looking for something. And then I'm going to wrap it up. I'm looking for something. Officers and hundreds. Bear with me 1 second. All right, good. I got it. Exodus 18. So this is the book of Exodus, chapter 18. I'll read 9. Exodus chapter 18, verse 9. And Jephthah rejoiced for all the goodness which Yahweh had done to Israel, whom he had delivered out of the hand of the Egyptians. And Jephthah said, Blessed be Yahweh, who have delivered you out of the hand of the Egyptians, and out of the hand of Pharaoh, who have delivered the people from under the hand of the Egyptians. Now I know that Yahweh is greater than all gods, for in the thing wherein they dealt proudly, he was above them. And Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, took a burnt offering and sacrificed for Yahweh. And Aaron came and all the elders of Israel to eat bread with Moses' father-in-law before Yahweh. So now, see, Christians will read this, right? See, Jethro, he's not an Israelite, right? And see, he was making sacrifices to the Most High God. See? So that means Jethro can be saved. No, that doesn't mean that, right? Heathens can do whatever they want. Jethro was just giving a sacrifice to the Lord for what he saw the Heavenly Father do to what Yahweh did to Egypt, and how he saved Israel. That don't mean that Jethro's a part of the promises now. That don't mean, only reason Jethro was good because of what he was Moses' father-in-law. But that don't mean that now Jethro is a son of the promise and the promise is given to Jethro. That don't mean that. See, Christianity is a hell of a drug. I don't mean that, man. Just because certain heathens got perks for being around the Israelite don't mean that they are part of the promise or part of the covenant. I don't mean that. That was just a heathen that was on the bandwagon of an Israelite. That was it. So it says, verse 13, back to the subject. And it came to pass on the morrow that Moses sat to judge the people. And the people stood by Moses from morning until evening. Now, can you imagine that, man? See, being a job of a prophet or a job of a king or a job, any job in relating nobility or rulership or dominion, that's not a, it has its perks. Like, that's an all-day job, man. It's an all-day job. And it says, and when Moses' father-in-law saw all that he did to the people, he said, what is this thing that thou doest to thy people? Why sittest thou thyself alone, and all the people stand by thee from morning to evening? And Moses said unto his father-in-law, because the people come unto me to inquire of the Most High, right? And that's the job of a priest and the job of the prophets. You ever wonder why people just be pouring themselves onto you? People they just dump all their problems on you. They just, because you're the prophet. You are the priest. You have the light. That's why everybody comes and want to talk to you, right? Because you're a prophet. Duh. I'm joking. I'm joking, man. But you're a prophet. You're a servant of the Lord. You're a priest of the Lord. So, and the duties of the priest was offer the sacrifices unto the Lord. I don't mean that everybody's right. I'm just saying that's just what it is. I don't mean the Lord is going to listen to if you pray for certain people, or he's going to acknowledge certain people. But this is what the men of the Lord was going through back then. Everybody came to them, Lord, my damn oxen fell in a hole and I can't get them out by myself. Lord, my wife, she's adulterous. Lord, Moses, this guy stole my goddamn sheep. Moses, he took my pruning stick and never gave it back. Moses, the list goes on, man. He took my damn cart. Moses, that nigga killed my uncle. He killed my nephew. Moses, they was wearing Moses down. And guess what? Moses, he had the Spirit of the Lord. He had the laws. So he was sitting there telling them what was the judgments and what should be done. So it says when they, and Moses said unto his father-in-law, because the people come unto me and inquire of Yahweh. When they have a matter, they come unto me, and I judge between one and another. And I do make them know the statutes of God's Lord and his laws. And that's, people come to us, really still out there in virtue. But people come to us to hear what we got to say. Everybody wants to hear what a servant of the Lord has to say, because you always give such good advice, or you always know how to word things right. That's the Spirit of the Lord, man. So, and what we supposed to give them? The righteous advice. Leave that bitch alone. Leave that nigga alone. Don't eat. Don't if you go to the Christmas party, don't eat the pork. Don't eat stuff that was scooped up with the pork, and you give them the laws. You give them the righteous orders. So it says, when they have a matter, they come unto me, and I judge between one another, such as Solomon did with the two babies. The two mothers and the babies. It says, and I do make them know the statutes of God and his laws. And Moses' father-in-law said unto him, the thing thou doest is not good. Thou wilt surely wear away both thou and this people that is with thee, for this thing is too heavy for thee. Thou art not able to perform it thyself alone. It says, hearken now unto thy voice, unto my voice, and I will give thee counsel, and Yahweh shall be with thee. Be thou for this people to Godward, and thou mayest bring the cause unto Yahweh. It says, and thou shalt teach them ordinance and law, and shalt shew them the way wherein they must walk, and the work that they must do. Moreover, thou shalt provide out of all the people able men, such as fear Yahweh, men of truth, hating covetousness, and place such over them to be rulers of thousands, rulers of hundreds, rulers of fifties, and rulers of tens. And that came from a heathen, right? So this heathen must have been experiencing some type of order and structure in regards to armies and men. So he gave Moses wisdom in that sense. And Moses took heed to that wisdom. He got God-fearing men, such as the brothers in the faith, and they became rulers of thousands, rulers of hundreds, rulers of fifties, and rulers of tens. And that's how many men you should be able to deal with, right? And I'm speaking to the older brothers in the faith, the heads of camps, the second in commands, the thirds in commands. And you got to be able to know what's going on with these brothers. Example with Apostle Tahar, at the end of camp, at the end of every camp, what's going on? Anything new? Any problems? Anybody got anything to say? And Israel got a thing where, they want to suffer in silence. Brothers don't want to, brothers don't want the world to know about their problems or whatever, right? But there's men that you can deal with. There's older brothers in the faith that you could turn to, right? Everything ain't got to go to Apostle Tahar. Apostle Tahar handles the weightier matters. The apostles and elders can handle the weightier matters. But then there's second in commands, third in commands, older brothers in the faith that can deal with your situations. So it says, and let them judge the people at all seasons. And it shall be that every great matter they shall bring it unto thee, but every small matter they shall judge. And that's the order of things, right? Like I said, when I first came in this thing, I was watching men get sent. The first day I came in, somebody got kicked out the camp. That's the first day. His name was, his nigga name's Ichabod Crane, right? He laid the smack down on hell and got the boot. Because I don't know where he got that from. The apostles, elders already went into hell and broke down hell. Here he comes talking about he's laying the smack down on hell. He got kicked out. And that was the first day of me coming in the camp, right? Now, and then I seen brothers get suspended, and I seen brothers get sent home, the hanging out sessions, brother go home. That brother got to go home. I've seen that. And guess what? Now I'm at that brother got to go home. You suspended. Why you late to camp? Go home. You had to work today? Go home. So that's just what it is. It says, if thou shalt do this thing, Yahweh commend thee, so thou shalt be able to endure. And all this people also go their place in peace. Excuse me. So Moses hearkened to the voice of his father-in-law and did all that he had said. And Moses chose able men out of all Israel and made them heads over the people, rulers of thousands, rulers of hundreds, rulers of fifties, and rulers of tens. And they judged the people at all seasons, and hard causes they brought on to Moses, but every small matter they judged themselves. And Moses let his father-in-law depart, and he went his way into his own land. And guess what? He sacrificed unto the Lord. He did all that. But guess what? He went back home because he was a heathen. He had his own inheritance in his own land and all that. But pretty much that's it. I know I segue into another subject, but it's all the spirit. Pretty much know the state of your flock, man. You know, it takes more than just feeding and watering the sheep. Some sheep, some sheep are sickly, so you gotta take care of them differently. Some sheep are stubborn, so you gotta correct them more. Some sheep is slow, so you gotta, put the fire to them, or get the German Shepherd, the dog sheep, to get on them, to get them to move faster. Each sheep has a different case. Each sheep got a different personality, and you got to know how to deal with that case and that personality. And then how, for the older brothers of the faith, you know how the spirit goes. The Lord got you dealing with certain brothers for a certain reason, or the Lord has certain brothers around you for a certain reason. There's something that's beneficial. I know, even if the brother's simple, or the brother is not, as fast, or whatever the case may be, or you not as fast, whatever. Y'all in each other's lives for a reason. Y'all around each other for a reason. The Lord is trying to teach you something. The Lord is trying to teach him something. And he paired y'all so y'all can learn from each other. Allah, Yahawashi, Yahawashi, man. I pray and hope that y'all was edified. Love each other, respect each other, man. That's it. And keep laying your bricks, man. Keep laying your spiritual bricks to the spiritual temple, man. Keep enduring, keep being brotherly. And you sisters, keep listening and learning. Remain faithful to your husbands. Continue to do the duties of a wife, and fear the Lord. That's it. That's it. Pray and hope that y'all was edified, man. I'm going to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Wahara Kakwadash. Till next time I say Shalom.